culture duplicates in its likeness, right? So if it's just you, Jay, if there's one of you, two of you, three of you, four of you, whatever it might be, or 500 of you,
right,
you are duplicating in your likeness. If your culture's broken, you're broken. Go to work. Go to work. And just take responsibility. When you see that guy in the mirror, take responsibility because your culture is a direct byproduct of you.
All right, welcome back to another episode of Culture Camp. I'm super excited about this episode. I got Michael McHenry, the CEO of the McHenry Group. Welcome.
Yeah, man.
Dude, thank you so much for being on here.
Dude, I'm honored, bro. It's so fun to be back here. When I say back here, obviously like in front of you, ready to chop it up.
Right. No, dude, and you're a super cool dude, really, really interesting guy.
Yeah.
You are the CEO of the McHenry Group. The McHenry Group owns about 100 restaurants.
Well, we've opened
about 100 restaurants.
Through my career, we're knocking on that door for sure.
Okay.
But right now, we currently have a handful of brands that we're operating.
Yeah, one of them is my favorite. Shout out to Dirty Bird. It's legit. Good chicken sandwiches.
Yeah, Bird Gang, baby.
My wife's favorite, Sunday's Best, which I want to talk about a lot on this podcast because it is called Culture Camp, and we talk a lot about culture. And I know you've built an amazing culture in all of your brands, and I know that your brands are legit. And but I kind of want to go take it back to how did Michael McHenry get into the restaurant business? That's kind of been your thing. And I saw, and like you can give more detail. I saw that you're like a top one of the restaurateur concept tours in the nation.
Thank you.
Like I saw, I saw you did a little shout out there.
Yeah.
But let's take it back, man. How'd you get in the restaurant business?
Dude. So it's wild. I think here's how it can really run with Culture Camp as well. And Jason, it's amazing to see you putting this platform together to want to interview entrepreneurs and others that are just doing it maybe differently, or they're progressive and pushing, I think, beyond the norm, right? You're pushing the boundaries to do things a bit differently. And the reality is, especially under these conditions, right? The tough laboring conditions, the societal pressures, the things that are out there, like people want to be a part of something. Right. And that's very much what culture is about. Like I belong there. Right. I want some of that. I believe in that. And if we go all the way back pre-restaurant, that's just been a part of who I am. Like I've always brought this type of energy. I've always been big and engaging. I've always been, I think, high performing. And whether that be in professional sports or in jobs or opportunities, I wasn't the best student by any means, because I wanted the classroom. I wanted to be the teacher. For sure. Right? I wanted to be in the front of the room, and not just to be disruptive, but I really felt like maybe that at that young age, I had something to either show or project or maybe learn and share. And so the restaurant business for me, dude, happened by accident.
Really?
Yeah. And this is where a bit of our families like have, we have some history, some ethos there, right? And obviously, like your dad being one of the early investors and franchisees in the Costa Vida brand. Right. And that was the start for me. The start for me was in that brand. And that day it was Costa Azul, as you may remember.
Yep, I do.
And then obviously we went through the name change and the evolution. But I got approached by the original kind of founding partners of Costa Vida. Right. And they came to me before they'd opened the first location there and said, hey, we see that you have what we're looking for. Right. And it wasn't my experience. I'd never worked in a restaurant, dude. I was a consumer at best. I was like a fat kid at heart, man. Yeah, back then I was most definitely shredded in great shape. But leading up to that, it was like, dude, if it's fried, dude, I can dip it in salsa or sauce, I'm eating it. Hell right. Yeah. And so burritos, tacos, chips, queso, all that shit.
That's
that was
right down your alley.
Right down my alley. Right. But they came to me and said, hey, you have a presence. Like you have the ability to get people to believe in you, to follow you, you're a leader. Right. And you do it with a really just an energy. And what that translates to is like lifestyle. Right. And they knew that they had the sweet pork. They knew they had the tomatillo. But I think what they knew that they really needed was a way, how do we make a difference? How do we separate ourselves from Cafe Rio, from others in the industry? And we're like, we're going to make it lifestyle. We're going to make it Baja. We're going to make it surf. We're going to make it feel like, Baja, Mexico, and bring the surf and the vibe and the fun. And I think that's really where I got my opportunity, is they came to me and said, basically, we want you to be the guy. And we know you have no restaurant experience. So zero restaurant experience, got into this. And really, it was just my energy and my presence. I think my personality and ability to just dude, smile alongside a sweet pork burrito.
Right.
And
which
that's
you do,
really
like,
where
you
this started.
Incredible energy. The first time I met you at your restaurant in Sunday's Best, when I was with the guy behind the camera, Murphy. We had to go grab some stuff.
Sure.
And I'm like, man, I've heard so much about you. I've seen you all over the place. I've seen you on podcasts, seen you all over social media.
Cool.
Dirty Bird was just literally like a block from my house
Centerville,
up here.
right?
Well, no, it's Dirty Bird was right here in Clearfield.
Oh, Clearfield. That's what I meant. Yeah.
And like, I'm just like, man, so much about this guy. I've never ran into him, and it's like, and then I've always wanted to. And then Murphy's like, hey man, we got to stop by and meet Michael. I'm like, dude, this is sick, because because I am familiar with the restaurant game, and it's really cool to meet you, that you're doing all of these cool things, and like like trend setting and brand setting in the RV in the restaurant business, and it's cool. I mean, and right when I met you, dude, the energy, like. I'm like, started talking, and you like right up there started talking to me, engaging with me, and I'm like, man, this dude is a cool guy, and I really respect that, because I care more about people and how they are than kind of their history and really how much money they make, because that really doesn't mean a lot to me.
Dude,
like,
we don't want to do business with dickheads, right?
Right. And I hate that, and like that's why like I wanted you to get on this podcast so bad, because you have created something that's unbelievable and literally like changing Utah. I mean, it is definitely changing Utah. I mean, dude, you're crushing it. So, let's go back. Like, when you started doing Costa Vida, how long were you there, and like what was like the most impactful thing you think that you did at Costa Vida? Yeah,
so I was there obviously from like one location to many.
Right.
And I think the biggest thing, one, I learned an incredible amount, right? I had great mentors, great leaders, great people around me, but a lot of it too was like baptism by fire. It was like build the plane in flight. Right. That business started with an idea, and it was like, go figure out how to roll burritos.
Quick. Like, it was
like overnight.
Yeah.
Right. It was overnight. And then obviously we grew, and we had our struggles like every other business, and you get one open, you get two open, you get three open. All of a sudden you're crushing it. At 5, you're like, what the hell are we doing?
Right.
And then at 7, you're like, okay, we're on top. And at 10, you're just pushing. And the big learning, big takeaway, the big opportunity inside of that too was just when I got into it, man, I fell in love with it.
Right.
And I fell in love with it for this reason, Jay. So I can sit at this table and we can talk about your business and my business and the impact that we've made, the reward that we made, the fruitful byproduct that follows it, the family, the friends, the vacations, the opportunities, all of that stuff that's awesome.
Right.
That we've worked our asses off for. There, it was an interesting dynamic because the food business provides you the immediate opportunity to work with every walk of life.
Right.
And when you're a culture king,
right,
or you truly believe that you build your brands and your visions through other people,
right,
very few industries, if any, right, are as kind of broad and as diverse in background and life than the restaurant business.
Oh, that makes so much sense, because you really can't choose who comes into your restaurant. It's
think
everybody.
About it, like your father, right, with Randy, right? I have the opportunity to engage with him, right, successful. Dude, 20 years ago, dude, your dad was a heavy hitter, right? I've not seen him for over 10.
Which he prefers.
Yeah, but
he likes to be in the shadows.
But the reality is, like, he was a heavy hitting entrepreneur before I think we even knew to use the term entrepreneur, right? Like, that's how long. And you look at that and say, hey, I had the opportunity to work directly or indirectly with successful individuals in those early developmental years of mine. I got that opportunity to work with that single mom who's raising her family and working the service line, to, the high school kid, this is their first job, to, hey, he just moved to the US on a work visa and this is his first opportunity, to the 8th year, law school student at BYU. Right. It was like the variety of those talents.
So many people.
All in, literally, it's just like one big ass melting pot.
Right.
And dude, that's what really supercharged me on like lifestyle brands and culture, is that they hired me for energy. I actually learned how to lead teams in that way.
Really?
And the restaurant industry is just this amazing, again, I'm using melting pot as a way to articulate this, but the restaurant business is just so damn cool because of the variety and diversity of the very people that show up and champion your missions and visions every day.
Right. That, dude, it's a crazy industry, because there's so many types of food, and like one, Mexican restaurant can be so much different than the other Mexican restaurant.
Totally.
And like what you're doing on flavor of, like, you've made chicken badass. Like, you've made beef chicken,
baby.
Like,
I mean, there was hundreds of iterations of that sandwich, before we ever brought it to market.
Really?
Like hundreds. And as you know, that you may know, that brand opened 6 weeks pre-pandemic. I started working on the original vision for chicken for me, for fried chicken and hot chicken sandwiches, started sometime in 2013.
Really?
I put all the branding in place and a lot of the intellectual property, the things that we designed and developed in 2017. And then I shelved it until literally January of 2020 and saw an opportunity, brought it to market. And as you've seen, it just went nuts. And it went nuts because we not only nailed flavor profiles and chicken and the things that are there, right, that are expected, known and unknown around flavor profiles and quality, but we brought a brand to the table that people are like, hell yeah, I want to eat that sandwich and I want to talk about it.
The Bird Gang.
Yeah, the Bird Gang. And I'm like, damn, that just is cool. And so we knew with branding, you not only in our business, not only does it have to taste good, bro, it has to look good.
Exactly. And like you created, it's funny because, you know, right in the sign out here on Dirty Bird, there was like the Bird, like join the Bird Gang. There was a big, huge banner and all that stuff. Like I'm on my city's Facebook page. Yeah. And what is the Bird Gang? What is that? And everybody's like,
these guys?
They're like, it's the Dirty Bird, baby. They're like,
let's go.
Like, it's how to hire. Like, you're part of the Bird Gang. And they're like, oh, that's really cool. I'm like, man, that is the coolest branding.
Because you give people a reason, like a purpose. If we go back to teams, if you go back to neighborhood, you go back as far as you want, military, there's so many different groups, so many different societies, so many different opportunities. And with Dirty Bird, there's a little bit like, when I say gang life, I'm not a banger by any means. When I talk about gang, it's camaraderie, it's brotherhood, it's
a culture in itself.
It's like I bleed that.
Right.
I want that.
Well, and your employees
I see that.
Are literally wearing their shirts all over the place. Bro, people are buying.
Bro, people are tattooing my brands.
Yeah, it's crazy.
On them, like dude, I've had people walk up to me years later. Dude, I had one last week. This gal worked for me in Chandler, Arizona many years ago. She got a job with Delta, met her husband in Utah, has been working with Delta now for 2 or 3 years, lives in Utah. And bro, literally, she's in my dining room at Sunday's Best last week, and she's telling me this whole ethos, and I'm remembering her as this happening. At the time, that brand had about 1,000 team members in over 20 locations across the country. And so to me, that was a lot for me to be able to not only remember that, but she was so bought in to our culture still that she's sharing with me like how she tells the story of our orientations and of working, and how she was able to directly impact her community through the work that she was doing on a day-to-day basis, and to see that carry through after many years. My point here is she was sharing a story about one of the individuals in the brand that went and actually had it tattooed on his leg and is still proud of it today.
That's incredible.
I know.
Like, I really fully believe that culture is a feeling.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a major part of it. You have nailed it. I mean, when you walk into your Dirty Bird stores, or you walk into Sunday's Best. Let's talk about Sunday's Best.
Yeah.
Dude, you have literally a few years ago, brunch was not even a thing in Utah. Now, outside of Utah, it's a thing. Like,
it's expected.
We flew to, when I went and did a podcast with Brad Lee, we flew down there, went to breakfast. Type in breakfast, there's 30 breakfast places that close at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I mean, that's normal. You go to Arizona is huge for their breakfast places.
Yeah.
In Utah, it's like, there's not that.
Well, and Jay, there's a difference between breakfast, right, and brunch, right? If I say to you and Mikkel, we're like, hey, Christy and I, we want to go have breakfast. So you're like, okay, cool. We're going to go to the Park Cafe or over the counter or wherever we might go, or Rye. But if I say to you, hey, Jay, grab Mikkel, let's go. Right. We're going to go to brunch. Like, oh shit. Okay. Like, where are we going? Right. What are we going to wear? Who's driving? Are we drinking? We not drinking? Right. Like, what's on the menu?
It's another level.
It's experience. Right. They go like, what was it about brunch for me? I get asked that question. Why brunch? Right. And I said, because it's experiential. Because brunch, people want to have a great time. For sure. There's like this rewarding essence to it, right? Pop that bottle of champagne, mix up the mocktail, sit down with your friends, enjoy the moment. Because there's something about that essence, Jay, that's beautiful. Oh, yeah. Like, to me, it's beautiful. And it doesn't give a shit who you are. It's just beautiful. So when you walk into a Sunday's Best, we talk about feeling. One of the biggest compliments we get there is how that space makes you feel. Then they go, it's delicious, but I like how I feel when I'm here. Right. We get people that literally come in. It's almost therapeutic. They're like, I'm here because it's going to brighten my day. Like a guy like me, dude, I hike almost every morning, as you might know.
Yep,
I do huges, right? Like cold plunges.
Right.
I get in a cold river, I settle in, I carry my breath, and when I jump out, dude, I'm ignited, I'm invigorated,
right?
Like liberated, ready to go. And people come to Sunday's Best because it makes them feel better in their day. And to me, dude, that's my most sacred work.
Dude, you have nailed it, because I have heard so much about Sunday's Best, and from my wife.
Yeah.
I mean, her friend lives right on like 90th South, I think, right up the road, and it's super close. Or on 106. She lives right up 106.
Oh shit. Okay, so she's like my neighbor.
Yeah. And I've never been there. I've always wanted to go there. We always, and you know, my teammate, like my employees.
Is that the only time you've been there? Is the time that I met you there?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
And so my executives are always, like my team are always like, hey, we're going to brunch here. We're going to, and I'm, oh man, I'm not in town. And he's like, oh, like we have this group that every like 2 or 3 weeks they go to Sunday's Best. And I've been hearing so much about this.
So I probably know them indirectly. If they're there that often, I know them for sure.
They're there all the time. And they're a bunch of nurses from one of the hospitals down in Salt Lake. And so when Murphy was like, hey, we're going to go there, I'm like, oh, I can't wait. So I text my wife. I'm like, hey, we're going to go to Sunday's Best.
Well, Murphy was strategic about that, because he's like, yo, bro, I'm going to do a photo shoot with his pretty ass at the table with his pancakes and champagne hat.
Hey, I appreciate that, because I got to taste it.
Hey, man, it looked good too.
No, it was legit, man. And when I was walking up to the building and like your branding and all, just the vibe of it, I think I looked at Murphy and I was like, I get it.
Yeah.
I walked right in through the doors and I'm like, I get it.
Yeah,
I understand why people want to go there. And you are so right. It's a feeling. It's a totally different vibe than anything I've ever experienced.
Think about this in your business, right? What happens in the lot? What happens at the curb? Right? The experience for you starts with your inventory. Right? It starts with your inventory on the curb. How does it look? How's it presented?
For sure.
Like what kind of flow, right? What does the schematic look like?
Right.
What are we showing? And an old mentor of mine who's actually from Costa Vida said, the experience starts at the curb.
Wow.
Right? And so every couple weeks, I'll grab the leadership team, the whole team. We'll literally walk out to the to the curb together, right? And sometimes it's a power pose. Sometimes it's like a Superman, Superwoman,
right?
You know, like you're
feeling
it. Like we get out on that curb so that we can just like honor our space, honor our sacred duty of serving that community super well.
Right.
But I'll turn around and I'll walk them so that they understand the importance of like why we pay attention to landscape, parking lot, cleanliness, glass, doors, signage, viewpoints, all the things that are important, because today more than ever, people make their decisions long before they buy. Right? Like that kind of impulse thing, even with Instagram, that ad was strategically placed on you based off of your habits.
For sure.
Or the things that you already buy. So when you go, well, I buy an impulse on Instagram. Well, that's actually bullshit. Instagram knows that you do that, or they know what you want to buy. So they show you things that they know you'll click through and buy.
For sure.
And it's a similar thing for us. Like we have to create an experience just like you do for your guests in your business or your potential customer, that we have to get them to commit.
Right.
And in our business, and how I articulate at it is long before first bite. Right.
Wow.
And so what's the way to do that? Oftentimes curb appeal, oftentimes what you're seeing in Vance. But to us, we sell essence.
Right.
Bro, we sell the experience of brunch to you.
Right.
Before you've ever experienced. Like you're saying, hey, dude, I keep hearing about it. I've been invited a ton of times, but I never ate there. And then all of a sudden I walked in, I go, oh shit, now I understand
100%
why Michael, Tyler, and his team, why they've been able to create this is because we've done it with that level of intent.
And it's insane because they're like every attention to detail is incredible to like walking in the experience, people greeting, and like then I'm like, oh man, shit, they got Dom Perignon mimosas. What's up with this? Like that's crazy. And like just that next level of experience that it's not just your like it used to have like you have pancake like things like, but it's not a diner, dude. No, it's not a diner. But you so much more,
and you can have that.
Right.
What's important when you talk about culture, what we're talking a lot about too is brand. Right.
For sure.
And when you talk about like every detail matters, I go, listen, there's the big difference between a business and a brand is that brands are built in the details.
Right.
Brands give you layers of things to think about and to feel.
Right.
Right. Brands give you layers, right? Businesses just give you optics, right?
Sure.
But brands give you layers.
Right.
And one thing that we knew was critically important to the success of this brand is that you could come in and get a truck stop breakfast and a drip coffee, right? You can come in and get a 2-egg, pick your protein, get your toast, get your potatoes, and grab a drip coffee.
Right.
But we also knew that we wanted the opportunity for you to order those freshly flown in oysters.
Right.
And a bottle of, 2010 vintage Dom. So you choose.
I got a bottle right there.
And
I love it.
They have to coexist.
Right.
And dude, that is something that is important, I think, for your listeners as well, is that you can create an environment where they can coexist. Right. Where you can come into Sunday's Best and have a $15 experience.
Right.
And you can come into Sunday's Best and have a $1,500 experience and do it 2 tables away. And it feels like it's home to both.
And it feels like it's the same experience, and you get the same service. That's one thing that I've
100%.
noticed is your culture and what you've created in about customer service and in your team members is like I've never seen before. Even when I've been in, because shit, your freaking drive-through line is hella long because the freaking whole entire city's trying to go there. So I've been out there and they're like, hey, we're so sorry, like this and that. Like they're just like, we appreciate you. Like, literally, I appreciate you so much for coming here. Thank you so much. Have you tried it? Have you been here before? Asking me questions while I'm kind of, waiting.
Sure.
And I'm like, man, like, I'm not even mad.
Yeah.
Because this is, like, the experience I'm getting is more than a chicken sandwich. Like, if it was just, here's your bag and see ya.
Totally.
But this lady, and
lifestyle.
She's there all the time. I see her all the time. And she's just like, how are you doing? Hey, good to see you again. I'm like, I come here too much if you know that I'm, but it's literally
you've been to like
house.
a Dutch Bros?
Yeah.
You've been to it. Like you go through a Dutch Bros and it's conversational. And the reality is of course we love that from a kind of B2C, like that kind of customer relations type opportunity. But for us from a business standpoint, that conversation gives us time. Right now we want to be thoughtful and participating and engaging. But that conversation gives the kitchen, gives the ops, like,
it's not just an
extra
awkward,
another minute or 2 minutes, because what we know is we have to share the weight. And if we can entertain that through conversation, we have a thoughtful 2-minute conversation, not only does that go, wait, these guys really care about the business. It also goes, hey, we also have more time in the kitchen. And hopefully what we've earned and we will learn with you is that you've become a part of our gang. That you've become a part of what we're doing. And so when you take that to Sunday's Best, although none of us are here on scholarship, right? It's very clear what the goals and expectations are for us to perform at on a daily basis. But the reason that you get the same type of service, whether you're buying a $300 or $400 bottle of champagne, or you're buying a $5 mimosa, but you get the same experience, is because to us, it's all experience creation. To us, it's number of people and experiences we create. The fruitful byproduct happens to be the economics that follow us creating the most furthering experience possible.
Wow.
And we coach that. It's why we don't ever want you to feel like you're not spending enough money, or that you're spending too much money, or you're not spending enough time, or you're spending too much time at the table. And as we get to better understand a bit of the psyche of our guest, right? When you come in multiple times, we build a profile. And pretty soon we know that Jason wants 2010 Dom.
Really?
Pretty soon we know that Jason starts the majority of his meals with a beignet, and he always likes his steak well done, even though we always encourage it to be medium well or medium rare, whatever that might be. We build a bit of the profile.
Wow.
So it allows us to better serve you. If we realize that you come in mostly on your own, then it helps us understand that, hey, you're going to sit at the bar top, right? Like we have I would say like a higher profile customer or a client. He is the lead singer of a very relevant band. Very, very well.
Sunday's Best?
Sunday's Best. They've been a heavy hitter for a long time. He's an absolute badass. And when he's on stage, dude, his stage presence is nuts. And he's a rock star. I'm talking arena style badass. Right? This guy fills arenas. But when he comes to Sunday's Best, dude, he's like a hat on, quiet, reserved, and sits by himself at the bar.
Really?
Right? And so, but he's also a superstar. So when people see him, they like want to take photos. They, we're going to encourage that kind of stuff. But we create an environment for him where people don't have a lot of access to him. He doesn't get kind of overwhelmed. We just treat him as we would anybody else. My point here is we start to understand that profile, because early with some of our A-list guests or celebrities and others, we'll give them premium seats and those types of things. And then all of a sudden we find that he actually doesn't want to sit at that large round table in the center of the dining room and feel like a VIP. He actually wants to sit at the bar top by himself and eat egg whites and avocado slices and salsa on the side and just be low key. And my whole point here is part of being able to curate a certain culture and an environment, you have to be wildly obsessed with what your guest wants, not what you want.
Boom.
Not what you want.
Wow.
And we as business owners, Jay, we want to do what we want, right? Like, And if you're really going to build a business that makes people feel the way that you feel when you experience one of my brands, all your focus is on you, on the guest, and not on your business.
Right. That's so powerful because you have nailed that you are not in the restaurant business. You are in the people business.
Dude, 100%.
You're here to literally serve
I'm in the food business because of that.
Right.
Bro, I'm not a traditional restaurateur. I guarantee there's many people that will sit at this table, possibly, that know more about cheese and wine than I do.
Right.
I'm not passionate about those things.
Right.
I'm passionate about you picking my space to eat that cheese and drink that wine.
It's like a proud moment, right? Like when I see one of my trailers rolling down the road and it's like my tire cover on the back of it, I'm taking pictures, I'm sending people. Dude, that's so sick. And when you're sitting there at Sunday's Best and it's packed and you got a line, you're like, I mean, you there's got to be like a proud moment of like, look what we've created.
Bro, every one of my brands that I either have a direct vested interest in its success today or not, I feel the exact same way.
Wow.
And I'll use this example, right? For those listening in, right? You have a puppy. Right. I saw this happen when I walked in the door, right? Millie. Right. Yep. Millie. When I walked in, she was stoked. Like she didn't jump on me, but she ran right up to me. She's like, she's loving me, right? She's getting all the endorphins, right? Are happening for her. And dude, I'm telling you, it's how I feel when people walk through my door.
Really?
I know, right? I don't know how many dealerships there are. I know there's thousands and thousands of them.
Right.
But in Utah, there are 4,700 operating restaurants and bars in Utah. There's only 3.3 million people, bro. This place is not big.
Right.
So when you walk through my door and pick our ricotta pancakes and our champagne or our honey pepperoni or our dirty bird, right?
Right.
Or our hamachi or whatever it might be, it's 4,700 to 1, and we're not fucking it up.
Right. No, that is.
And so to me, it's like when I feel that way when you come through the door, dude. I'm like, even right now, this is not animation, right? This is reality, and I never take that for granted, ever.
Wow. If you're listening to this, repeat that, because that is so important. That, oh man, that's incredible because so many people miss that. So many people miss that.
We fuck it up, dude, and I hope it's okay to say it that way, but we fuck this up because we think it needs to be more complicated than just making people happy.
Right.
And it's not, dude. That trailer, make people like proud of your tire cover, of your sticker, of your brand. Dude, when I see some of the old school Costa Vida shirts out there, and I saw one within the last few weeks, I was driving up Broadway, and I had just left Mac's place downtown, super rad executive club. And I'm driving up Broadway, and I look over, dude, and the dude's got one of the original, like I'm talking like 05, 06 Utah Jazz collabs, right? It's got the 2005 or 2006 like Circle Jazz logo.
Yep.
And then it's got like the green, orange, blue logo on the back. Yeah.
Very vividly.
And I saw that, dude. And I'm literally like, I'm getting goosebumps telling you about it right now. No shit. Because I'm like, dude, it felt like I'm standing there in Orem, dude, like serving burritos, dude, hustling tres leches, like just doing our
thing. The longboard popsicles, hustling. Totally,
man. Yeah. Like it just, and that doesn't go away.
Right.
I don't believe it goes away for the right people, the people that understand like how important that is to our success.
Well, you're making a difference,
dude.
I mean, and it sounds so silly because it's just, people can say this is just food, but you are literally making a difference. You are, like, and it sounds so crazy. You are changing people's days. You're changing the course of how happy they were. Man, like when I'm having a bad day, I can if I lived 5 minutes from Sunday's Best, I'd be like, I'm gonna go to Sunday's Best and have a mimosa or something.
And that's just like that. That place is a 15-year overnight success of so many failures and a handful of big wins.
Right.
And it's why I'm unwilling to do it any other way than what I believe that we're doing. And how many people out there serve pancakes, right? How many people out there serve champagne?
Right.
But it's like when you walk in, honestly, what makes you feel the way you feel is the environment and how people are engaging, how it's managed, right? How we protect that environment. Those are the things that you're picking up on.
For sure.
That like, those are the things that go, oh shit, these guys,
right?
These gals, they know what's expected. They know how to execute this on a daily basis.
Right. So how do you train that? Like when you're building, I got a couple questions because I kind of want to get in more, like first couple questions, and they're big questions. So first, when you're creating a brand, what goes into that? And then another big part of that is how do you execute the culture? Because in my experience, in probably your experience, there is a big disconnect between quote unquote corporate, or the managers, the bosses, and what they say and what actually gets executed. And I feel when I walk, I mean, I've tested this in multiple restaurants. Sure. It is you duplicated like 1,000 times. And I mean, it's incredible because I'm like, they're executing what Michael is telling me at these parties
is real.
Is exactly what's going on. So when you, let's start with when you're creating a brand, what goes into that?
So for one, there's layers and layers and layers of this architecture. Right. But here is one big difference, right? People believe because they have great resources, money, talent, creative, that they're going to build a great brand. Right. And we talked about this already, like great brands are built in the feelings and the details. Right. So most people build good business thinking it's going to be a great brand. Right. So the first thing you have to realize is that there's a big difference between building a business, corporate or not. Right. There's a big difference between building a business and building a brand. Here's the first thing. When you're going to go out and seek and create a true brand, you have to create essence in advance. You got to get really clear on what this brand is going to do for people. Right. Right. And so you have to, whether that's moments, experiences, environments, flavor profiles, rewards, feelings, right? So for me, the first thing I always do when I'm building any new brand is I create that picture in advance. I create how it's going to make you feel when you're at the table. And dude, I can almost like touch it, taste it, see it, feel it. I mean, so many brands now. I'm going to say that I'm not in the business of just like building a bunch of brands for the sake of building brands. The reason our stuff works, the reason that TMG has the success it does, the reason that we have these viable exits, the reason that we continue to sustain our brands over time is because we get really clear on what we're building and we pursue it with unwavering pursuit. Like we never give up on that vision. So when it comes to brand building, you've got to get wildly clear on the essence of that brand in advance. And don't ever go to launch before you are radically clear on that. And whether that, I don't care what business you're in, right? If it's, you're into clothing, you're into shoes, you're into photography, you're into dealerships, you're into whatever it might be. If you want to build a brand, you have to build an essence in advance of that brand and understand how it's going to make people feel and how you're going to see people engage in that product. Right. And then you build a framework around it to bring it to life.
Man, how... That's incredible. And I know that we could talk about this for days. Yeah. How long is your average basically concept to
reality?
First dig or reality. Yeah, concept to reality. Because I know some people, they get out like analysis, paralysis by analysis. And they have this idea and they don't really know what to do. And they don't do this and they don't do that and blah, 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 blah. And then years go down the road and they still have this idea. Yeah. But at the same time, you want to like just make it happen, but you got to execute it the right way.
Yeah. So there's two things in there, right? I think the first one that I want to, because there's 2 points I want to make from what you just kind of asked in a sense. The first one is there isn't a certain time frame. Okay. Right. Like when you say, hey, how long does it take you from ideation to market? Some brands can happen in a matter literally of months. And some things I'm literally just internalizing. Right. Like I had the original vision for Sunday's Best. Its original name was Early Bird. And here's an interesting ethos for you. Dirty Bird is a direct byproduct of what you're experiencing at Sunday's Best, meaning that the vision for Sunday's Best came before Dirty Bird.
Really?
It was originally called Early Bird.
Okay.
And when I originally put that vision together, I wanted to justify the economics of having a space that would close or not close at 3 p.m. You have a 5,000 square foot restaurant. You're going to close it every single day at 3 o'clock. Right. Well, economically, it seemed like a poor decision.
Right.
So I'm going, wait a minute, early in my decks to go pitch money, and this is years ago, I'm going, no, we're going to be Early Bird from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m., a little more Southern style, very similar hospitality you're catching now, similar menu, but not the same. And then at 5 o'clock, we're going to reopen, change, the signage is going to change. We're going to dim the lights. We're going to ice the buckets, and we're going to be Dirty Bird at night.
Okay.
Right. And then all of a sudden when that pandemic's revving up and I'm seeing this opportunity and the kind of the chicken sandwich battles are happening. I'm seeing the hot chicken is super hot. I'm like, oh shit, I got to bring Dirty Bird to market now. That vision's too good.
Right.
And so we brought Dirty Bird to market before we brought Sunday's Best to market, and it was still going to be named Early Bird.
Right.
Right. So I'm driving down the road. I'm giving the listeners a real life example of what it means to know your essence in advance before you build your brand. I'm driving down the road. It's now 2.5 years ago. I'm driving down the road, dude, and the Surfaces song comes on, Sunday Best. Mm-hmm. Have you heard that song? It's crazy. And I'm driving, bro. And I'm listening to this song, and all of a sudden I'm like, that's it.
Really?
I'm naming it Sunday's Best, and I'm opening it. It's it. That song fully encapsulates the whole energy of what you experience at Sunday's Best. When you go listen to that song now.
I'll listen to it for sure.
By Surfaces, it's called Sunday Best, not Sundays. It's called Sunday Best, and you will literally go, holy shit. When I listened to that song driving down the road, I pulled over, I wrote it down, right? Then I found it on Apple again. I saved it, and then I just listened to it for like 2 or 3 times in a row, and I went, it's done. I called my partner, Chef Tyler Stokes. I said, dude, I have the name. And then I called the team, or I called our legal team. Well, I called the ops team, or my creative partner, and I said, reach out to our legal team and find out if those marks are available. We bought all the assets. We got after it. And then we just pulled it close to the chest. And then we spent the next like 7 or 8 months building it together. So my point here is, you just never really know, right? I never expected Dirty Bird to stand on its own. Right. I expected Dirty Bird to be the byproduct of our brunch business to activate the economics to the night business.
Right.
And then saw an opportunity for it, so we deployed it differently, right? I never expected Sunday's Best to be called Sunday's Best.
Right.
I expected to be Early Bird, but Early Bird never really, it wasn't clear enough for me to grab it and run with it, Jay.
Wow.
But once Sunday's Best hit, dude, I'm all, fuck it, that's it, and I'm clear.
Right.
And bro, people love it as much as I love that song.
Right.
Right. They're coming in concert in September, bro. And I need those guys in my dining room.
Yeah.
Right. I'm like, dude, I'm down here like they're like at the complex or something. I'm like, shit, dude, maybe I'll buy every ticket to the show. I don't know, dude. I'm gonna indirectly sponsor this fucking thing, you know? So dude, you see that, right? And you see that when it comes to brand building, dude, there's to me, it is it's like intuition, right? It tells me when it's time. You had another question in there. I want to answer this. We're like, hey, so many people, they sit on it, they years and years, and it festers, and they work on it. I have a Michael McHenryism, dude. We call it, it's literally our number 2 maxim at the McHenry Group, right? Which is 70% right, 110% sure.
Right.
Like, we don't let the crazy detail that we love so much get in the way of deploying our visions. We build shit in advance, because fast failing only happens when you're at market.
Right.
Fast failing never happens in ideation on that whiteboard.
Right.
Right. Those are just good ideas or bad ideas, and you don't know either one yet until you go to market.
Right.
So to us, like, we just don't hang back on shit. I can't tell you when I'm ready to bring the right brand to market, but I can tell you when it comes to being clear on our direction, we get after it.
That's huge.
Right, we get after it.
So before you answer like how you execute the culture, because I know we're going to get into that, what would be, if someone's trying to start a brand or start something, what would be the biggest piece of advice you give them? Or what would you tell them?
Bro,
like, hey,
that's big.
Like, hey man, I'm going to start a brand today. What advice would you give me?
I would say the first thing is, do you understand clearly the difference between a brand and a business? I think a lot of people want to build a business,
right,
and think they should build a brand, or a lot of people want to build a brand but they build a business, right. And so there's a big difference between brand, because brand is about people,
for sure,
right? Brand is about people. And so I would say, first and foremost, make sure that you're very clear on why you want to build a brand, because I think oftentimes it's tugging on people. They want to be a business owner, they want to be an entrepreneur, they want to bring something to market. And there's just a difference between a brand and a business. And so I would say the biggest piece of advice is just know the difference. Know the difference.
And that's great, because I think that there is a huge difference in people, like how we've kind of said before, like the branding is a feeling. And there's businesses out there, they're just businesses.
Yeah, totally. And I have nothing wrong with that.
Right.
Yeah.
But then there's restaurants that are just restaurants, right?
Totally.
But you have created not just a restaurant,
in a different way.
Feeling, which is incredible. So going to the culture, how have you been able to instill this culture? I guess, crazy question. Where did it come from? Why, with the customer service, like I'm very interested in that, because this is Culture Camp. People listen to this to learn that, let's roll on that.
So this is one of those things where ignorance is truly bliss. So I'm going to give a personal example, then I'm going to give you the experience, more sophisticated side. For me, it truly was a reality that the only thing I knew when I got into business was people. So there was nothing to distract me.
Right.
It was my biggest muscle, bro. It was my greatest recipe. It was my greatest method.
Okay.
Right. So I didn't come from the business learning how to like take my passion for tacos and get people to eat them. I had to take my passion for people and get them to eat tacos.
Wow.
Right. And that's where our success is. Our success has started with the engagement, and the byproduct follows, right? Whether that be the burrito, the taco, the pancake, like we talked before. And so for me, I think it was reversed based off of just my experience. And I think my smart ass bosses and mentors and your dad's old partners, dude, they saw that. They were really smart. They saw that in advance. And so that was the first one for me, was that I recognized that just my own ignorance or own experience gave me a crazy advantage to start with people before product.
That's huge. So when you're opening stores, and we can kind of get into the details, like what is your processes? How do you instill, what is number one to your employees? Like I know that it's probably customer service, but how do you get them to buy into it? Because you have had, it's really hard for people to buy into it. And you have had everybody I've met buy into it. How do you do that?
It starts with making your North Star wildly bright and clear. Like anyone who works on our teams today understands that we are wildly obsessed with the guest. And that we understand that our sole purpose for being here is to be the best part of someone else's day, no matter what.
Right.
Like, so you have shitty days, you're out. Like for us, we realize that everyone has a shitty day. Shit happens to us. You get cheated on, you get divorced, you get sued, you're broke, your power gets turned off, you get in a car accident, a family member is dying, your dog is sick. All like this shit happens.
Right.
But we teach inside of our cultures how to make the decision to be your best on a daily basis. A huge part of our meetings with our teams. You see it, dude. I hike with my teams. I boat with my teams. I work out with my teams. I spend time. I break bread with my teams. And the reason I do that is not because we're talking about labor performance and revenue performance and our metrics that keep us in business day to day that our ops teams drive day in and day out and the performance to our plan. I'm helping people better understand and build greater awareness in themselves. Not just our leaders, our staff. I help our staff see that they can maximize their own potentials. It helps with their decision making and it helps with their discipline. And so we build cultures where it's kind of like this real life experience for people to be their best versions and get paid for it.
Right.
And so making that North Star wildly clear, which is be the absolute best part of someone else's day. And in our brands, from experience creation, they just buy in. And the ones that don't buy in, dude, they just spin out.
That's so
right.
Good.
And we have, trust me, dude, there's plenty of people that can fill this room right now that go like, I would never work for that guy.
Right.
Right. I don't want to be my best version.
Right.
Or it was exhausting. Like, the pressure to be your best was exhausting.
Like, dude,
for
it's
me.
food. I can just serve it. Like, why are you making me do all this stuff?
Dude, and that happens, you're out. Like, you're just out because that doesn't happen with us. Right. What happens with us to go like, I understand that burrito, that pancake, that pizza, that hamachi is nothing more than a conduit to creating the most furthering experience possible. Dude, it's connectivity for us. And so we start there and we end there and we don't let anything else get in the way.
Right.
And so when I'm there, dude, I'm our biggest cheerleader. When I'm on the floor, dude, I'm high-fiving, I'm understanding, I'm resourcing, but I'm making sure that our chins are up, dude, and our chest is out.
Right.
Because we know and don't know what people are dealing with on a daily basis.
For sure.
Like how many restaurants are truly building cultures that when people walk through the door, they're like, our goal is to make you have the best day possible. And so many are just like, yes, thank you. Like get through the line next. Hey, number 377 or hey, Michael, come to the front, like whatever it might be. Are you walking? You're like, Jay, Murphy. I mean, if you're rolling with Murphy, you must be a good guy and you're high-fiving, you're talking, the next thing you know, you're building a relationship. And when you teach your layers that, like, for instance, our concierge, which are what most brands call hosts and hostess, like our concierge, which is very much what a concierge is for you when you travel, you walk in, concierge have your needs covered.
Right.
Well, our host stand are concierge. They have your needs covered.
Wow. That's incredible. And literally right when I walked in there, I think I saw like Murphy's introduced me to people, but man, everybody came up to me, and then I was like, hey, you Murph, what's going on? Like, I'm like, wow, I'm just here, man. Like it was such a cool experience. And so one thing I want to ask is if someone is struggling with culture, and they're a business owner, a manager, a CEO, whatever.
Yeah, sure.
What do you do when you go into the stores? Because I think that's important. And a lot of people,
sure.
you know, how we call it in our company, like a nonverbal. Like if you look like you're having a shitty day, that just like is contagious on everybody.
Yeah, totally.
But if you're having a shitty day, but you come in with the biggest smile, like I've never seen you not smiling at everything I've ever seen you. And like what would you tell a person, this is what you need to do on a daily basis, this is what you need to do with your culture, this is what you need to do when you walk into your store? Like I don't care if it's an AutoZone or a O'Reilly.
First and foremost, you have to take responsibility.
Right.
Right? Like our behavior is nothing more than a choice, Jay. Right? Like all the shit that I gave as examples before, all those things have actually happened to me.
Right.
I've had all that shit, right? I've had all of those things happen to me throughout my life. And then all of a sudden I realized as I became an executive, as I became a business owner, and what I believe is a successful entrepreneur, is that I realized that life happens for me.
Right.
And that I have a choice, right, to see the gifts. I have a choice to show up and be my best. I have a choice to smile, and I have a choice to be frustrated or pissed off. And I can tell you right now, I almost never pick frustrated. And I can tell you right now, I never pick pissed off.
Really?
Now, it doesn't mean that don't mistake my kindness for weakness, right? Like I'm strong, present, and capable, right? Like I'm highly competitive. I'll dip the shoulder, run the ball up the middle all day long.
Right.
But I'm the guy that's going to stand on your throat with a smile.
Right.
Because I choose to be happy. Because here is the most important thing for us to realize as executives, as CEOs, as owners. If we believe that our culture is being threatened, we are the last line of defense. Right. We're the ones threatening it.
Right.
So you have a choice to show up. But here's the thing that is critically important. Write this shit down, by the way. Culture duplicates in its likeness, right? So if it's just you, Jay, if there's one of you, two of you, three of you, four of you, whatever it might be, or 500 of you,
right,
you are duplicating in your likeness. If your culture's broken, you're broken. Go to work.
Wow.
Like go to work and just take responsibility. When you see that guy in the mirror, take responsibility because your culture is a direct byproduct of you. 100%.
So powerful.
And if you're going to tolerate that shit with you, then it's going to bleed down and your team's going to tolerate that.
Right.
Right? Your team, no matter what, is, and oftentimes, and I would say the majority of the time, is going to fall a bit short of the owner.
Right.
A bit short of the CEO. And you can't expect to have a thriving culture if the CEO is an asshole.
Right.
Or if she shows up in a bad mood.
Right.
Or they're unwilling to participate, right? Like yesterday, dude, I'm out of town for the next 2.5 weeks. I got a new brand coming to market, all kinds of stuff happening, some great travel, investing in watering the gardens in my personal life, which is wildly important. I didn't do that for a long time.
Sure, right.
And what I know is that yesterday I dedicated like 4 hours, 4.5 hours. I wasn't quite prepared for it, but I took our top performers boating yesterday.
Really?
And an hour we're settling in, dude. And 2 hours into this thing, bro, it was like, oh shit, this is why we do it.
Right.
To like when we're cleaning my boat together and we're at the marina last night, dude, and it's dark and dude, literally you can barely see and people are hugging me, dude. Like I am so grateful that I work for a guy like you.
Really?
I'm honored to be on here. Like, thank you for treating us like this. I haven't been on a boat since I was 8 years old.
Wow.
And you're like, you sit back and go, bro, we take that shit for granted.
For sure.
Bro, I jump in a car with you, dude. We jump in a badass high horsepowered sports car. We all like, we get together because we have this byproduct that gives us a ton of choices. And I think at times we forget how impactful it is when you build equity with your team. That we got to remember what it was like for us, right? And so when you really want that kind of culture, you got to invest real thoughtful time. Don't buy people shit. You can't just paying people a bunch of money or acting like you can kind of do anything that you want or go have a great company party or write big checks or high five people. Like, no, dude, be thoughtful in participating. And you yield such a crazy result. And so I focus on times in which I call them like building equity with my team, which in truly builds my culture.
Right.
That it helps me duplicate in my likeness by how I treat you, whether you're a line cook for me, a barista, a bar back, a bartender, a concierge, a server, a busser, a dishwasher. It doesn't fucking matter to me. You're on my team. Like you're on my team and you're believing in my vision and you show up every single day for me. And so I recognize you. And so some of the things I do, right? That's one of them. The next thing I do is every time I walk into my business, I say hi to everyone, no matter what.
Really?
And when I leave, I say bye. Owners don't do that.
Right.
Owners don't recognize everyone. And owners come in, they're too busy. They're on their computers. They're on their phones. They're moving quick, bro. Every fucking time I walk into my business, I say hi to every single person who works for me. And every time I leave, I say bye to as many people as I possibly can.
That's huge.
No matter what. Oftentimes it makes me late for other meetings. But dude, again, it's priority.
It's non-negotiable.
Non-negotiable. Like non-negotiable. And I never walk through the back door, bro.
Wow, really?
I drive through the parking lot. I circle the parking lot. You might, those people that already know, like I circle around my shit because that cursory, right? I want to see what's up. I walk through the front door just like the guest every single time. And I never forget why we're there.
Right.
Every time.
That's so powerful, man. I'm going to go back and listen to this because it's so important because there's so many businesses out there that or business owners, managers, even small team managers that just don't give a shit about their people.
Yeah.
The thing about their people is just a way to make money.
Yeah.
You're filling up my bank account. Sure. I don't really care. You don't really have to talk to me. I know an individual that I'm really close with that 100% feels that way.
Yeah.
And to so much, he would open up a podcast that he believes you should be an asshole. Like it's just, we're so different that I can't even,
it's not for everyone, but if you want to build a brand, if you want to build a culture, then dude, you need a recipe that is really thoughtful.
Right.
And strong, right? Like I mentioned, like, dude, I'm not a pushover, right? You already, like, my expectations for excellence are exhaustingly high. Right. But I also know, it's why I tell people, like, I understand that my pressure is a lot and that it's constant, which is the same reason why I invest in my people the way I do. It's the same reason why I bring guest speakers and opportunities, and whether that be yoga, personal trainers, nutrition, opportunities, the ability to contribute through our community initiatives, to partner with other initiatives. That's why I do a lot of those things, because I understand that I'm relentless and pressuring in my pursuit.
Damn, that's huge.
Yeah. Like don't lower your standards to become more collaborative.
Right.
Become more collaborative so that your standards can be higher.
For sure.
That your outcome and your output can be greater.
It's a winning culture.
Totally.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, and it's created like, and it just starts, it's really important for listeners too. And it starts from the beginning.
Yeah.
And it starts from the top down.
Yeah.
And it starts from the first brand.
Yeah.
Because if you would have created a brand that, and just for listeners that are trying to like be conscious of this, if you're creating a brand and you need to check yourself if you're starting to create something that is not, because TMG has been able to be uber successful because of that first brand. It started from the beginning.
And here's something that's important to know. Your team and your guests will sniff you out, bro. They'll
fake.
know you're a fraud.
Oh yeah.
And in today's market, like, you can also just be an asshole that just rotates through people, or under the toughest labor conditions of our lifetimes.
Right.
You can create a culture and an environment where people walk resumes into you.
Right. Which is not happening right now.
This was yesterday. I had a gal stop me. I was standing with my business partner, Tyler Stokes, who's an absolute badass and complete culinary wizard and thought partner. He's incredible. Partnered on my restaurants with us, obviously, he and I. And we get done with the conversation. I see these two gals, and I said nothing more to them than like, hey, how was brunch? And like, oh, it was awesome. She goes, are you Michael McHenry? And I said, yeah. And she goes, hey, I just started following you on Instagram, but I got to tell you, that experience inside was awesome. She's like, I've worked at this restaurant, I currently work at this big name. It was a Cheesecake Factory.
Okay. And
she said, I was sitting in there with my manager, and I told my manager, and I pointed you out, and I said, I'm going to go work for him. And I said, oh, really? And what did she say to that? She said, I'll give you a recommendation. And I go, oh, that's interesting. She goes, why? She goes, because she knows I want to be a part of a culture like that. Literally, she said that verbatim, word for word. Her name's Ashley. And I really hope that Ashley at some point hears this, or she joins our team. We can circle back and talk about it at some point.
Right.
Because right now, today, in our business, we go, oh, I need culture. I need success. I need viability. I need staffing, right? And my reason for articulating this last bit is that give people a reason to work in your brand and in your culture, and even for some in your business? Like, what reasons are you giving people to buy in and be a part of what you're doing?
Right. That's huge, man. Because like enough said, right?
Yeah,
like
totally.
freaking mic drop, because it's so important, because and it's so funny because people wonder, why can I not hire anybody?
Yeah.
Why does no one want to work for me? And then it's like, dude, you have a shit ton of employees, and like people are kind of coming in droves to work for you guys, and it's the culture. People want to be cared for.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, dude. There are certain specialty positions, chefs, chef de cuisines,
Right.
certain
That's
bartenders. Those are a more artful position. But
Right.
when the majority of your culture, like your quote unquote, like your staff, right? That big team, your servers, your hosts, your service teams. That's where I feel like most people struggle, and we win.
Right.
We win in that space because we give those reasons and those purposes.
For sure. So another question I got is there anything in the future you can say for the TMG Group?
Yeah, man, of course. Listen, dude, that's what we do, baby.
Yeah.
So we're a few weeks out. I'm not sure when this is going to air, but we're bringing our newest brand to market right now, which is called Pica Americana Barbecue. Pica stands for rich and delicious. It's our take on Central Texas barbecue, married, right, with some Mexico City influence. So this is fresh tortillas and smoked brisket, barbecue moles, fresh salsas, great sides, elotes, beans, rice.
Sounds so good.
And so, dude, what can make what I believe is like true brisket, right? Like my partner in this, and I have several, but my partner and thought partner here, Jason Neely, when we were going through a tasting together, those that know or may not know about brisket, right? There's the bark and there's the brisket. The bark is the outside char, from the smoking. He goes, I said to him, I go, how long you been working on the brisket? And he goes, I've been working on the bark for 15 years. I said, bro, really?
Wow.
He goes, yeah. And I took a bite and I'm like, this is like a boat race, bro. Like no one can compete with this. And we put it in our type of environment. And so we've had this vision going for a few years, and we're going to take it, man. And the only way I think you make brisket taste better is if you put it in a tortilla, right? Because I feel like everything's better in a tortilla.
Everything.
And so really excited to come out and reintroduce that sacred conversation with a pit master, dude, to meet meat cutters and really understand their passion for what you're about to eat, and put it in a kick-ass TMG environment that makes you feel like you need to be seen.
So awesome.
And so really excited for that. That's opening in St. George here within the next 2 months. It's going to be a hot spot right in the heart of the city, dude. We're literally on 25th and Main. So it's like St. George Boulevard and Main Street.
For sure.
It's going to be a total heavy hitter. We're going to make all of our own sausages in-house, all of our own. Dude, tortillas are coming off the Kamal, just like our old Costa Vida days.
I love it.
So you're going to get these fresh tortillas rolled out to you. Brisket that's going to blow your freaking mind, dude.
Dude, I love brisket.
And dude, it's literally creating what I believe is going to be like the most disruptive smoke show in the business.
I love it. I love it, man.
So that's next. And then, beyond that, dude, Sunday's best and the models ahead. I think we've really done a good job with our 1.0, but our 2.0, 3.0, 4.0, and now our 5.0.
Oh yeah.
And meaning in terms of locations and just opportunity, like we continue to raise the bar. The stuff that's following Sunday's best, and we have several opening over the course of the next year and a half, is gonna blow your fucking mind.
Dude, I can't wait.
You're gonna go, oh, like Utah hits hard.
Really? Yeah.
And
dude,
these guys are from where? These guys are from Salt Lake.
Right.
Like the country is like, they're gonna be blown away.
Dude, I cannot wait. I'm
Thank you,
so
man.
much looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Wrap this up. One last question I got for you. I ask everybody this.
All right, bro.
Success is what to you? What is success to you? What does success mean?
It's super simple for me, dude. Championing others to their full potential. Like I don't really give a shit about all the other things. I really care about helping people become their best version on a daily basis, because that makes me show up to be my best. That's success to me.
That's powerful.
And I don't care if that's you being a father, dude, a leader, whatever that is in your world. For a long time, dude, I wasn't a great dad. I was a good provider.
Right.
I'm a fucking great dad now. I really show up for that. And so a big part of just championing others to their fullest potential is also recognizing where you have gaps.
Right.
And so success to me, dude, is just maximizing potential
I love
for
that,
myself
man.
and others.
No, thank you so much for sharing that. Where can people find you at?
It's easy, dude. Just Michael McHenry.
Boom,
where the attention is.
Verified.
On Instagram,
Got that blue check mark.
I tell people, dude, when it comes to like where the attention is, it's simple, dude. Just message me on Instagram. I can't guarantee you that I will follow, like get to your DM, but I can promise you that if you DM me more than once or twice or 3 times, I'm probably going to see it. But just at Michael McHenry. And if that's socially, and if you want to catch me, just head in one of my dining rooms, dude. I'm there every single day.
Yeah, I know that. I see pictures all the time. But man, thank you so.
Likewise.
It means so much to me. I know how busy you are.
Bro.
You know, it really means a lot that you drove up here. I'm so grateful for you. I've learned a ton. I cannot wait for this to air.
Yeah.
Just, man, appreciate you.
Dude, much love to you, Jay. Man, so fun to come back full circle after so many years. I didn't know you back then. I just knew your family. I appreciate the opportunity that you shared this space, that you create this space for us to be able to share, you know, a bit of our story and our journeys, and hopes that really helps encourage other people to be their best.
Amazing, man.
All right, man.
I appreciate
Much love.
you.
Cheers.
For sure.